Hi, this is Mark Georgi with Catalyst Medical Consulting. During this educational video, I would like to talk to you today about the most basic step in large database analysis, which is how to upload NIS to STATA. I personally use STATA for all my NIS related analysis. There are other softwares out there including SAS, SPSS, R in addition to STATA, but I use STATA during the Catalyst Large Database Analysis Research Workshops, so I am going to be showing you how to do this step in STATA. In order to upload NIS to STATA, there are few simple steps to go through, and we will go over them one by one, and I'll demonstrate how to do them as we go. So those steps are: number one, unzip the downloaded files, the files that we receive after buying NIS from the HCUP central distributor. Step two would be to place these files, the core, hospital, and severity files, in a new folder. The third step is to download the STATA load files, and we will talk about how to find them and download them. Step number four is to run the load files. And then the step number five, the last step, is to merge the core, hospital, and severity files into one database that we can use in the future. Let's start with unzipping the downloaded file. When we buy the NIS from the HCUP central distributor, it comes as a zipped file. This zipped file is downloadable from their website. It used to come on DVDs in the past when I started using NIS, but now it's automatically downloadable from the website. And I'm gonna show it to you here. So these are the two zipped files that you will receive once you purchase NIS. The first one is going to be called NIS 2016.zip. The other one is the CC 2016 NIS.zip, and we will talk about the CC 2016 NIS.zip later. The bulk of NIS is present in NIS 2016.zip. Now, reading from the HCUP website, it is recommended not to use the unzip programs that come with either Windows or Mac that are built in. Instead, it is recommended to use one of three unzipping programs, and I personally use the Zip Reader. Why do I use it? Because it is freely downloadable from the internet. You can Google Zip Reader, you can download it for free, and you can use it. So what I do is I open up Zip Reader like I'm doing right now. And I'm going to choose Select Archives to extract. Once I do that, then I can go to my desktop, locate the NIS 2016 file, and then double click on it to unzip it. Here the program is asking me for a password. This password comes with NIS when you purchase it. I am gonna just key it in here without giving out the password because it is proprietary, and you will receive this password in a separate email from the HCUP central distributor once you buy the file. Okay, here we go. I have done that. And now I have these 5 files that are present. Now, the last three here, the core, the hospital, and the severity files, are the three parts of NIS. The core will contain most of the information about patients, so the patient's age, the patient's diagnoses or procedures done during the hospitalization. The hospital file will contain information about the patient's hospital, and that is going to be the hospital bed size, hospital teaching status, hospital location, and hospital region. The severity file will contain information about the patient's severity of illness and that would be the DRG patient score, etc. Now we have to repeat the same step I have done for each of the 3 files. We're gonna go back to the zip reader, and then we're gonna tell zip reader to extract the archives. This time we're gonna go to the NIS, and then we will start by unzipping the core file. And again, we will have to place the password here, which I will key in. And the zip reader will unzip the NIS 2016 core. And here it is. Now we have the 2016 core.asc, and ASC is the ASCII file. That is the file that we can upload to STATA. So we're gonna create a folder here, and we can call it NIS. Obviously you can call it anything you like. So I'm gonna open this folder, and I'm gonna place that ASCII file, the core ASCII file, in this folder. Okay, so this was the core file. Now I'm gonna do the same thing for the hospital file and the severity file. Again, the password. Okay. We're gonna move the hospital file again to the same NIS folder. And lastly, we'll do the same thing for the NIS 2016 severity. And the severity ASCII file we will put in the NIS folder along the other 2 files. Great, so now we finished the first step, which is unzipping the downloaded file. We will now move to step number 2, which is placing the core, hospital, and severity files in a new folder. And this we just did. We created the folder called NIS, and we placed both the core, the hospital, and the severity ASCII files in that folder. Moving along, we go to step number 3, which is to download the STATA load files. Now, what are the load files? Load files are actually do files. They are STATA do files that allow the ASCII files to be uploaded to STATA. So this has already been done for us, and we can download it from the HCUP website. Usually what I do is I would go to Google, and I would Google NIS load files STATA. And usually the first thing I get is this HCUP central distributor STATA load programs nationwide, and then AHRQ. So it is always the first thing that pops up. And when I click on it, I'll be redirected to this HCUP website where I can find any load file for any HCUP database at any year. So here I can, because we're talking about 2016 NIS, I'm gonna choose 2016. The database obviously here is NIS, so I'm gonna make sure that I choose 2016 for the year, NIS for database, and I say find. Alright, so these are the files that we should download. So the first one is the NIS 2016 core file, and this we will use to upload the core file into STATA. The second one is the NIS 2016 hospital weights file. So this is for the hospital file. And the third one is the NIS 2016 severity file, which obviously is for the severity file. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on this link, save link as. I'm going to save it in NIS, and I'm going to say save. All right, this is saved. I'll do the same thing for the hospital file. And I'm going to do the same thing for the severity file. All right, so now if we go to the NIS folder here, we're going to see that we have two types of files. The first type is the ASCII files, which we actually unzipped from the file that we received when we bought NIS. And then the do files, these are the do files that we just downloaded. So that's perfect. We have them all in one folder for us. So now we're ready to move to the next step, which is to run the load files. And the way we're going to do that is open STATA. And before we do anything else, here, this is very important, and this is what's going to make our life easier a little later. We're going to go to File, and we're going to say Change. We're going to click on Change Working Directory. This is very important because this will allow us to use NIS, the folder I just created, to be the working directory, which means that we don't have to tell STATA to go look for the files. It is already using this folder to work. Once we do that, we open a blank do file, and then from that blank do file, we can start by opening the first load file, which is the load file for the core NIS file. Once we open it, we're going to see a usual regular do file that already has been typed for us, which is excellent. We don't have to do anything really. All we need to do now is to just run it. And once we do run it, we're going to see that STATA is going to be working for a while, depending on how fast your computer is. My computer would probably work for 4 or 5 minutes. If you have a smaller processor with, let's say, 4 megabytes of RAM or 8 megabytes of RAM, it might take 10 minutes up to 12 minutes really. But the most important thing is that the wheel here is working, and this is STATA telling us that it's thinking. There is no error, it's just working. So all we need to do is just wait. Okay, now it's done. Obviously I stopped recording when my computer was working, and now it's all done. These are all the steps that STATA was going through. I was literally just watching, and now it's done. So now the way we know that this is a successful extraction is because we can see here all the variables listed nicely, which is in the core file. Excellent. So to double check, we will look at our folder, and now we're going to see that we have a third kind of files, which is the DTA file. This is the STATA database file. So the NIS 2016 core, this is the STATA final database that actually was successfully extracted and uploaded to STATA. So here it is. We are going to do the same exact thing for the rest of the files. So we're going to go back to STATA. What we need to do is to clear STATA's memory, because we cannot start with a database that is already open. We have to start with STATA being clear without anything in the memory. Otherwise we're going to get an error. So we go back and then we open a new do file. Again, this is going to be the hospital do file, and as we did last time, we only just run. As you see here, it's already done. STATA has already processed this file because the hospital file is very small. And now we have these variables right here. Okay, this is successful. It has automatically already been saved in DTA file. Let's make sure. Here it is. Okay, good. So we have 2 out of the 3 files. We're going to go back to STATA. We are going to clear the memory. And then we're going to open the last do file. the severity file. Again, run only, no changes needed. And we can see that the computer is working again on the severity file. I'm gonna stop the recording here until my computer is done processing. All right, here it is. We're all done. We have the 3 files. Let's check. Indeed, we have the hospital file here, the severity file here, and the core file that we started with. Perfect. So now we have the 3 separate components of NIS. What we are going to do now is to merge them. So if we're going to go back to our slide, so we ran the load files. Now what we need to do is to merge the core, hospital, and severity files to get one large single database. And why is this important? This is important because every time you need to use a variable in NIS, it has to be present in the database that you opened. So if you open only the core file, you cannot use any variable that is present, for example, in the hospital file or the severity file. So combining them, the 3 of them together, will allow us to use any variable we want. So how are we going to do that? We're going to go back to STATA, and now we're going to use the merge command. So before we do anything else, we have to clear the memory again. All right. Now we have an empty STATA memory, so we are going to start the merging process. And the first step in the merging process is to actually start with a file. We have to load a database. I usually start with the core file because this is the largest file. So I'm going to go to open, and I'm going to choose the core. And now I can open it because it is a database, a DTA file that can be opened with STATA. So here it is. Okay, so we start with this. And then I go to the bar here. I click on data, combine data sets, and merge 2 data sets. Now, I next will merge the core file with the hospital file. Now, in order to choose between this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 options we have to think about the structure of the core and the hospital file. So the core file has individual patients. Each row in the core file corresponds to 1 patient. In the hospital file, each row corresponds to a hospital. Because many patients are usually treated in a single hospital, there will be many rows in the database that we have open now that will have to be merged to a single row, to 1 row in the database that we will have to merge to. So because I have the core file open, I'm going to choose many to 1 on key variables. Now, what is the key variable? This is the variable that STATA will use to match each patient to the hospital he or she has been treated at. It so happens that I know this variable because I read it. This is not intuitive. You have to know it. Someone has to tell you what variable this is, or you have to read it. I know that this is actually HCUP. So when we are merging core to hospital, we have to use the HCUP variable to let STATA know what row in the core file corresponds to what row in the hospital file. So once we do that, we're gonna next browse and locate where the hospital file is. So I'm gonna go directly here and choose the hospital file. Okay, so now that this is set, all we need to do is to press OK, and then let STATA merge. Now STATA will take a couple of minutes again to merge because these are large files, but at the end I should get, okay, here we go, what I got now, which is a small table that explains to me what I've done. And this table is telling me basically that all of my patients in the core file has been matched to patients in the hospital file. So, and the not matched, the unmatched is 0. So everything went well. That's perfect. Now, in order to generate this table, STATA has to create a new variable, which is here, right here. It is underscore merge. This is the name of the variable. So if I want to go ahead and continue merging, I have to drop this variable. Otherwise, STATA will give me an error because it's gonna try to generate this variable again on the next merge, and it already exists. So it's gonna tell me it already exists, and it's gonna stop working. So in order to circumvent that, what I'm gonna need to do is to drop this variable underscore merge. That's very important. Okay, once I do that, then now I have one single file that is open that has both the core and the hospital file. So what I'm going to need to do is to go back again to data, combine data sets, and merge two data sets. So now I have the core and the hospital file that are merged together, and they are basically one large core file. So it is still at the patient level. Therefore, in what I have open now in STATA, each row corresponds to one patient. Now I'm going to merge it to the severity file. Each row in the severity file also corresponds to one patient. So therefore here I'm going to choose the 1-to-1 because each row is going to be merged to one row. So 1-to-1 merge. So I'm going to choose 1-to-1 on key variables. However, this time the key variable is no longer the HCUP, it is actually NIS right here, and I can delete HCUP. So here we go, NIS. How did I know that? Someone has to tell me this. It's not logical. Someone has to tell me, or I should read it somewhere. So I know that this is key_NIS. That's the variable. Again, here I'm gonna go and I choose the severity file, which I'm gonna be merging into. Alright, I'm ready to merge. We'll hit OK. And STATA will work again on merging these two files together. It might take a minute. Great, here we go. So again, this table is telling me that everything went well. All my 7 million patients were matched and none are unmatched, which is perfect. Again, this is the underscore merge variable that has been created again. What I need to do is to drop it. So drop. Perfect. So now I have all these three files merged together. The only step that I still need is to save that database, and I'm gonna call it here NIS underscore mega 2000 underscore 2016. Obviously you can call it whatever you would like, but I'm gonna call it this, but I'm going to give it that name and save it. Here we go. Now we are at the very final step. We have one large database that contains all the variables that come with NIS. Excellent. So now what we can do is just close everything, and we are going to be ready to use this merged database in our future projects. Thank you for watching this educational video today. My name is Mark Georgi. I am with Catalyst Medical Consulting. For more educational videos concerning NIS and large database analysis, please subscribe to our channel, Catalyst Medical Consulting, and visit us at www.catalystsclinic.com. You can get more information about us and about the workshops that we give for large database analysis using NIS, NEDS, NRD, and other databases. Thank you very much.